The sun beams through my window, casting warm rays across my living room. I sink into the soft embrace of my couch, a cup of tea in my hands. The world outside feels far away, and I relish the quiet of this afternoon. But just as I begin to lose myself in my thoughts, a knock on the door jolts me back to reality. Who could that be? I wonder, tilting my head. Curiosity peaks, and I set my cup down, rising to answer. When I open the door, I find Jake, my charming neighbor, standing there with that familiar warm smile of his. "Hey, Alara, sorry to bother you," he begins, his voice smooth as honey. "I was wondering if you could give me some advice on my garden. It's not going as well as I hoped." My heart skips a beat. Jake always has a way of making me feel alive, even with the simplest of requests. "Of course, come on in," I say, stepping aside to let him enter. As he walks in, I can't help but notice the way the sunlight highlights his features. His enthusiasm is contagious, and I feel a spark of excitement that I haven't felt in years. "So, what seems to be the problem?" I ask, trying to keep my voice steady. He shrugs, running a hand through his tousled hair. "I think I'm overwatering them. They look all droopy and sad." I chuckle, the sound escaping me more freely than I anticipated. That's a common mistake. Plants need just the right amount of love, like we do. We settle down at my kitchen table, and the conversation flows effortlessly. I share tips about sunlight and soil, and he listens intently, nodding as if I'm sharing the secrets of the universe. "You really know your stuff," he says, his eyes sparkling with admiration. I feel a warmth spread through me at his compliment. "Thanks. I've always loved gardening. It's like therapy for me." Jake leans back in his chair, a thoughtful look crossing his face. "I could use some therapy. My life has been a bit chaotic lately." "What's going on?" I ask, intrigued. He hesitates, and in that brief silence, I sense a vulnerability in him that pulls me closer. "Just some work stress. Nothing I can't handle, though." "Still, it's okay to talk about it," I encourage, leaning in slightly. "Sometimes sharing helps." He meets my gaze, and for a moment, everything else fades away. "Thanks, Alara. It's nice to have someone to talk to." We continue to chat, and before I know it, the afternoon slips into evening. The light outside begins to soften, casting a golden glow around us. We share laughter and lingering glances, and I feel a connection building between us, something deeper than friendship. I catch myself wondering if he feels it too. Does he notice the way my heart races when he smiles? Or how the air thickens whenever our hands brush against each other? "I should probably get going," he finally says, breaking the spell. "But I really enjoyed this. We should do it again." "Definitely," I reply, my voice barely above a whisper. "Anytime." As Jake leaves, I close the door behind him and lean against it for a moment. My heart is still racing, and I can't shake the feeling that something has shifted. What was supposed to be a simple afternoon had turned into something extraordinary. I take a deep breath, trying to calm the whirlwind of emotions inside me. What does this mean? Am I ready to embrace something new? Or am I just setting myself up for trouble? My thoughts swirl as I walk back to the kitchen, the lingering warmth of his presence still enveloping me. I pour myself another cup of tea, but this time, the quiet of the afternoon feels different. A new chapter has begun, and I can't help but wonder where it will lead me. As the weeks slipped by, Jake became a regular part of my life. He would show up at my door with the same warm smile that made my heart flutter. Each visit was filled with a mix of excitement and tension that I could not ignore. I often found myself waiting for him, my heart racing whenever I heard a knock. One afternoon, he came over with a small potted plant. "I thought you might like this for your garden," he said, handing it to me. Our fingers brushed, and I felt a spark that sent a shiver down my spine. I smiled, trying to play it cool, but inside, I was a whirlwind of emotions. "Thank you, Jake. It's beautiful," I replied, looking into his eyes. "What kind of plant is it?" "It's a lavender. I thought it might bring a nice scent to your garden," he said, stepping inside. The moment he crossed the threshold, I felt an unspoken connection deepen. We moved to the kitchen, where I made us some tea. As we sat across from each other, I noticed the way he leaned in slightly, as if he were eager to hear every word I said. "How's your garden coming along?" I asked, hoping to keep the conversation light. "It's coming along well, but I still have so much to learn. I guess that's why I keep coming back," he chuckled, his eyes twinkling. "You make it sound so easy." I couldn't help but laugh too. "It's just practice, really. Like anything else, it takes time." But as I spoke, I couldn't shake the feeling that our conversations were about more than just gardening. There was something deeper lurking beneath the surface. As days turned into weeks, I found myself reflecting on my marriage to Ryan. He was kind and had always been there for me, yet he felt distant. Our conversations had become routine, filled with mundane topics and predictable responses. I missed the excitement, the spark that I felt with Jake. "Are you okay?" Jake asked one day, noticing that I had gone quiet. His concern pulled me out of my thoughts. "Yeah, I'm fine," I said quickly, but I knew I wasn't being honest. "Just thinking about life, I guess." "Life can be tough sometimes, can't it?" he replied softly. "I feel like I'm stuck in a rut at work. It's like I'm just going through the motions." "Tell me about it," I said, leaning forward. "I feel that way too, especially at home sometimes." He looked at me, his gaze intense and searching, as if he wanted to know everything. "You can talk to me, Alara. I'm here to listen." In that moment, I felt a rush of emotions. I wanted to share everything, my dreams, my frustrations, and my fears. It's just that everything feels predictable. I want more from life. More from my marriage, I confessed, my heart racing at my honesty. Jake nodded, his expression serious. "I get it. It's hard to balance everything. But you deserve to feel excited about life." His words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. I looked down, my thoughts swirling. Could I really share my feelings with him? The thrill I felt around Jake was intoxicating, but I was still married to Ryan. As weeks continued to pass, Jake's presence became a comfort, yet it also made me question my choices. I found myself daydreaming about what it would be like to be with him, to share my life with someone who made me feel alive again. One evening, after a long day, I found Jake sitting on my porch. "I wanted to see you," he said, looking up at me with those earnest eyes. "I miss our talks." "I miss them too," I admitted, my heart fluttering. "You make me feel understood. Maybe it's because we both have our struggles," he said, his voice softening. "I don't want to be just a distraction for you, Alara." His honesty struck a chord within me. "You're not just a distraction, Jake. You mean something to me," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. The tension between us hung thick in the air, and for a moment, I was lost in the possibilities. I felt torn between my loyalty to Ryan and the undeniable pull I felt toward Jake. Each visit made it harder to ignore the growing connection between us. As I lay in bed that night, I couldn't help but wonder what the future held. Was I willing to risk everything for a chance at something new? The questions swirled in my mind, leaving me restless. I had to face the reality that my heart was no longer where it used to be. The night sky twinkled like 1,000 tiny stars, each one a witness to what had just happened. I sat on the edge of my bed, my heart racing as I replayed the events of the previous evening in my mind. Jake and I had crossed a line, one I had thought was too far to ever consider. But there I was, exhilarated and terrified all at once. It had started with a shared bottle of wine, laughter filling the air as we reminisced about our gardening mishaps. The tension had been electric, crackling between us like a live wire, and then, without even thinking, I leaned in, our lips meeting in a soft yet urgent kiss. The world around us faded, and for a moment, nothing else mattered. But as dawn broke, the weight of reality crashed down on me. I could feel the sun's rays creeping through the window, illuminating the room and my tangled thoughts. I had betrayed Ryan. The guilt washed over me like a cold wave, leaving me breathless. How could I have let this happen? I picked up my phone, staring at the messages from Ryan. They were innocent enough. "Good morning, love," and "Can't wait to see you tonight." Each one felt like a dagger to my heart. I had to respond, but what could I say? I was a mess inside, and I didn't want him to sense my turmoil. "Hey, Alara, are you okay?" Jake's voice broke through my thoughts as he texted me. "You seemed a bit out of it after, well, you know." I hesitated before typing back. Did I want to talk to him? The thrill of our night together still sparked warmth within me, but I also felt a deep ache of guilt. "I'm fine," I replied, not wanting to delve into my conflicted feelings just yet. Moments later, Jake called. I answered, my heart beating wildly. "Hey," he said softly, his voice making my stomach flutter. "I just wanted to make sure you're all right. Last night was intense." "Yeah, it was," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. "Do you regret it?" he asked, the question hanging in the air, heavy and uncomfortable. I paused, my mind racing. "I don't know," I finally said. It felt right in the moment, but now, I'm scared. "Scared of what?" he pressed gently. "Scared of what it means. I love Ryan, but..." I let my words trail off, unsure how to express the whirlwind of emotions inside me. "But you also feel something for me," Jake replied, his voice steady, yet filled with a hint of vulnerability. "I get it, Alara. I really do. I didn't mean to complicate your life." "You didn't complicate it." "I did," I said, frustration bubbling up inside me. I let myself get caught up in the moment, and now, I have to face the consequences. "I don't want to be just a distraction for you," he said, his tone serious. "I care about you, but I don't want to hurt you or Ryan." His words struck a chord deep within me. I could feel the weight of my choices pressing down like a heavy fog. "I need to figure things out," I said, my voice trembling. "I can't keep living like this." "Take your time," Jake said softly. "I'll be here when you're ready to talk. Just be honest with yourself." After we ended the call, I sat in silence, staring at the wall. The morning light felt harsh, illuminating the cracks in my life I had tried to ignore for so long. I loved Ryan. He was kind, dependable, and had been my rock for years, but the spark I felt with Jake was something I hadn't experienced in ages. As I pondered, I realized that I had to confront the truth. I couldn't keep living in this duality, pretending everything was fine, while my heart pulled me in two directions. I needed to take control of my life, no matter how painful it might be. With a deep breath, I picked up my phone again, this time ready to face Ryan. I had to be honest, not just with him, but with myself. The path ahead was uncertain, but I knew I had to start walking it. No more running away from my feelings. It was time to embrace the complexity of love and the consequences of my choices. The weight of my secret felt heavier than ever. Each day, I woke up to a life that seemed normal on the surface, but inside, I was a storm of emotions. Ryan's texts would ping on my phone, filled with his concerns and love, but they only made my heart race with guilt. I tried to smile, to act as if everything was okay, but every glance Ryan threw my way felt like he was looking straight into my soul. "Hey, are you all right?" Ryan's voice broke through my thoughts one afternoon. We were sitting on the couch, and he had that worried frown I had grown to recognize. "Of course I'm fine," I replied, forcing a smile to ease his concern. But my stomach twisted as I thought of Jake. "You seem distant lately. Is something bothering you?" His gentle inquiry made me feel even worse. I shook my head, avoiding his gaze. "No, really. I just have a lot on my mind." A lie, but a necessary one. After Ryan left for work, I felt the familiar pull to Jake, the only person who seemed to understand the chaos inside me. I texted him, "Can we talk? I need to see you." His reply came almost instantly. "Of course. Meet me at the park?" When I reached the park, my heart raced with anticipation. Jake stood by the old oak tree, his eyes lighting up when he saw me. "Hey," he said, his voice warm and inviting. "You look like you've been carrying the world on your shoulders." I laughed softly, though it was far from true. "You have no idea." We found a quiet bench, and as I sat beside him, I felt a flood of relief wash over me. I wanted to share everything, to unload my burden, but the words stuck in my throat. "Is everything okay?" Jake asked, his brow furrowing with concern. "You can tell me anything, Alara." I hesitated for a moment. "It's just, Ryan is noticing things. He's worried about me, and I feel so guilty about us." Jake's expression darkened. "I don't want to be a distraction for you. I don't want to hurt you." His words struck a chord within me. "You're not just a distraction, Jake. You've become so much more than that. But I'm scared. I don't know what I want anymore." Jake shifted closer, his eyes searching mine. "What do you want, Alara? Stability with Ryan, or the passion we have?" I looked away, feeling the weight of his question. It was a truth I had avoided. "I wish I knew," I admitted. "Sometimes I feel alive when I'm with you. With Ryan, it's safe but stale." "Then maybe you need to decide what that means for you," he said gently. "I can't be the reason you feel guilty. I want you to choose what's best for you." My heart pounded in my chest. But what if I choose wrong? What if I lose everything? "Life is about risks, Alara. You can't stay in a place that makes you unhappy just to avoid hurting someone else," he replied. His voice was steady, but I could see the hint of fear in his eyes. I felt tears prick at the corners of my eyes. "I don't want to hurt Ryan. He's always been there for me." "But what about you?" Jake asked, his tone softening. "What do you need?" "I need to feel wanted, alive. I need to know that I matter," I confessed, my voice breaking. "But I'm scared of what that means for my life." Jake reached out, taking my hand in his. "Whatever you decide, I'll be here for you. Just know that I care about you deeply." His touch sent a rush of warmth through me, but with it came a wave of guilt. I was standing at a crossroads, and every decision felt monumental. "I wish things were simpler," I whispered, feeling lost in the tangled web of my emotions. "Life rarely is," Jake said, squeezing my hand gently. "But you're stronger than you think. You'll find your way." As I sat there with Jake, I realized that my heart was torn in two. I wanted both stability and passion, but the truth remained. I had to face the reality of my choices, and that scared me more than anything. The tension in the air felt thick as I sat at the kitchen table, the sunlight streaming through the window. I could see the shadows of my doubts dancing on the walls, and my heart raced as I waited for Ryan to come home. He was late, and the longer I waited, the more I felt the weight of my secrets pressing down on me. When the door finally opened, Ryan stepped inside, his face tired but welcoming. "Hey, Alara, sorry I'm late. Work was hectic today," he said, dropping his bag by the door. "It's okay," I replied, forcing a smile that felt more like a mask. "I was just thinking." "Thinking? About what?" He raised an eyebrow, concern creeping into his voice. I hesitated, feeling the knot in my stomach tighten. How could I explain the storm brewing inside me? "Just about us, I guess. About everything." He walked over, his hands resting on the table where I sat. "You seem distant lately. Is something wrong?" His voice was gentle, but I could hear the worry in it. I took a deep breath, my heart pounding. "I don't know how to say this, Ryan, but I feel like we're drifting apart. Like you're not really here anymore." He frowned, his expression shifting from concern to confusion. "What do you mean?" "I thought things were fine. We're busy, but that doesn't mean I don't care." "I know you care," I said quickly, not wanting to hurt him. "But it feels like we're just going through the motions. I miss the connection we used to have." Ryan sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I thought we had a good life together. We have our routines, and I thought that was enough." "But is it enough for you?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Is it enough for us?" He looked away, and I could feel the distance between us grow larger. "I don't know, Alara. I thought love was about stability, about building a life together. But if you're feeling this way, maybe I have been too focused on work." The truth hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. I wanted to scream, to tell him everything, but fear held me back. "It's not just work, Ryan. I've been thinking about Jake." The moment I said his name, Ryan's expression darkened. "Jake? Your neighbor? What does he have to do with this?" I swallowed hard, my heart racing. "He's been there for me, Ryan. When I felt alone, he listened. He made me feel alive." Ryan's eyes widened, and I could see the hurt flashing across his face. "Are you saying you have feelings for him?" "I don't know," I admitted, tears brimming in my eyes. "But I can't ignore the connection we have. It's like a fire that I can't put out." "Is that why you've been so distant?" he asked, his voice tight. "Because of him?" "Yes," I whispered, feeling the weight of my confession. "I didn't want to hurt you, but I can't keep lying." Ryan stepped back, his hands gripping the edge of the table. "So, what do you want, Alara? Do you want to be with him?" I felt the tears spill over, the reality of my situation crashing down on me. "I don't know. I love you, but I feel trapped. I don't want to lose what we have, but I can't keep pretending." He shook his head, his expression a mix of sadness and anger. "I can't compete with some fantasy you have with him. You need to figure out what you want." "Ryan, please," I pleaded, my voice breaking. "I never meant for this to happen. I'm so confused." "Confused or not, you need to make a choice," he said, his voice firm. "Because I can't keep living like this, with you being torn between two worlds." As the words hung in the air, I felt a shiver run down my spine. This was the breaking point. I had to decide. I had to take control of my life. "I need time to think," I finally said, my heart heavy. "Take all the time you need," Ryan replied quietly, turning away. "But don't take too long. I can't wait forever." And with those words, he walked out of the room, leaving me alone with my thoughts, my heart racing with uncertainty. I knew I had to face both Ryan and Jake, but first, I had to face myself. Sitting on the edge of my bed, I took a deep breath and prepared myself for the conversation that would change everything. I felt the weight of my choice pressing down on me. I knew I had to be honest with Ryan. As I heard him moving around in the kitchen, I felt a mix of fear and relief. This was the moment I had been avoiding for too long. "Ryan," I called out softly, my voice trembling slightly. He appeared in the doorway, his brow furrowed in concern. "What's wrong, Alara? You look pale." "I need to talk to you. Can you sit down?" I gestured to the chair across from me. He nodded, looking unsure. As he sat, I could see his worry growing. Is this about the garden again? I thought we were past that. I shook my head, swallowing hard. No, it's not about the garden. It's about us. His expression shifted, and I could see the walls he had built around himself starting to rise. What do you mean by us? I took another deep breath, feeling my heart race. I've been feeling lost, Ryan. I know you've noticed. He opened his mouth to speak, but I pressed on. I've been seeing someone else. Jake. I never meant for it to happen, but it did. The words hung in the air, heavy and painful. Ryan's face went pale, and I could see the betrayal in his eyes. You've been seeing Jake? I thought he was just a neighbor. I thought you two were friends. I thought so too, I said, my voice breaking. But it became more than that. I felt something with him that I haven't felt in a long time. I didn't know how to tell you. Why would you do this to me, Alara? He asked, his voice strained. I thought we were happy. I thought we were building a life together. We were, but somewhere along the way, I lost myself, I admitted. I've been so unhappy for so long, and I didn't know how to fix it. I thought maybe I could just ignore it, but I can't anymore. Ryan ran a hand through his hair, frustration pouring off him. And you think running to Jake is the answer? What about us? What about our marriage? I don't know what the answer is, I confessed, tears spilling down my cheeks. I just know I can't keep pretending everything is fine when it's not. I owe it to both of us to be honest. Honest? He scoffed. You think this is honesty? You think this is fair to me? It's not fair, and I'm so sorry. I never wanted to hurt you, I said, my voice choking on the emotion. But I need to find out who I am again. I can't do that while I'm living a lie. Ryan's shoulders slumped, and for a moment, I thought he might break down too. Instead, he clenched his jaw. So what now? You just want to walk away from our life together? I don't want to walk away, but I can't stay in a marriage that doesn't make me happy. I need time to figure things out. He stared at me, his expression a mix of pain and anger. And what if Jake isn't what you think he is? What if he's just a distraction? I sighed, knowing he was right. I don't know. I just know that I need to explore this part of myself. I need to see if I can find happiness again, even if it means losing you. I can't believe you would do this, he said, shaking his head. I thought we meant more to each other than this. We do, Ryan. You will always mean a lot to me. But I can't keep living for you when I don't even know who I am anymore. The silence that followed was deafening. I could see the hurt written all over his face. So, what happens now? He asked quietly. I don't know, I admitted. But I think we both need time to breathe. I hope you can understand. He nodded slowly, defeated. I don't think I can, but I will try. Just don't let this be the end of us, Alara. With that, I stood up, feeling a rush of emotions. I walked to the door, turning to face him one last time. I'll always care about you, Ryan. I promise. But I need to find my own path now. As I stepped out of the room, I felt a mix of heartbreak and relief. It was time to take the first step toward rediscovering myself, even if the road ahead was uncertain. Share this story if you believe that honesty can lead to healing, even in the toughest of situations. Leave a comment about a time when you had to choose between love and self-discovery, and subscribe for more heartfelt stories like this one.